Everybody. I hope y'all doing great. Please excuse my voice being all rough and funny sounding. I got a terrible cold this week. Anyway, I did want to take a couple minutes to go through the client design briefs with you guys. I think some of you guys caught some of the key terms, and others perhaps missed them or wasn't quite sure how to interpret and use them to your benefit. So I want to go through each one of these clients really quick. I also have some general technical advice that you'll see me highlight in blue here. So I just want to give you guys kind of a general overview of what to look for. Okay, so client choice number one is All Stars Sporting Goods. Okay, so right away when I hear the term All Stars, I immediately start thinking about that patriotic feel. So I'm going to guess that their original logo was red, white, and blue. I would further think that because they were established in 1925. So now 1925 and the term is well respected. These types of terms are telling me that this is a fairly traditional company. Their original logo, like I said, was probably a red, white, and blue. It probably used a serif font, which is a font that has those little feet on them. The font that we're looking at right here is not a serif font. Something like Times New Roman would be a serif font. Okay, these are sans serif, this kind of no little feet, simple contemporary font, by the way. All right, so I need to start thinking about that type of stuff. Now, the new management has taken over the store and they would like a contemporary look to appeal to a new generation. Okay, when you start seeing key terms like these, you start thinking about a sans serif font because sans serif are generally considered much more modern fonts, whereas a serif font is considered more traditional. Not necessarily old fashioned, but certainly that classic, timeless, traditional kind of appearance. Okay. They are also looking to impress people with the shopping experience. So when we start talking about experiences, this is starting to get a little bit more upscale. Okay, so this company is perhaps appealing to the newer generation that has a higher than usual disposable income, and they're looking for these experiences. So already I know that I need to go modern and I need to go a little bit upscale. Okay, I may not want to go with a red, white, and blue color theme either. Okay, the color theme of red, white, and blue, again, it's very traditional, it's very classic, it works really well for a lot of different logos, but perhaps they're looking for something a little bit different. You want to go with a color scheme that works primarily for men, but also has an appeal for women because more women are into sports than they were, say, 50 years ago. You're looking for younger adults, 25 to 45. So if you start thinking about more contemporary color schemes, a couple that come to mind automatically is like a gray and an orange, or gray and a lime green. You might go gray and blue, but that starts to look a little bit more corporate, so you got to be careful you stay away from that. So think about sports clothing and sports activities and what types of colors you see in these, in equipment and the designs and the motifs that you see in the equipment. You don't want to make something too trendy because trendy logos fail fairly quickly when they get outdated. So you're always looking for elegant, timeless logos, okay, regardless of what the company is. Those are kind of things you always want to keep in mind. All right, so if I keep going down, a couple things I do want to mention to you guys, and these things apply to any client in this list or any client that you ever work for. A logo always has to be scalable. Now, when we say scalable, we mean that it can be used on a wide variety of media formats. So that logo might be shrunk down to a half inch and it's existing on a business card. Or it might be blown up to something really large so that it can fit on a store sign or it can fit on a billboard or anything like that. It also needs to be simple enough that it can look crisp and clean in a web format or a video format. If you have lots of little details in there, they disappear when you go onto web. They also disappear if you go really small. Okay, so you don't want lots of tiny little details in your logo. It will not survive when it starts working with different media formats and different print applications. All right. When you guys are designing your logo, I recommend you always start in pure black and white. A logo must look good in pure black and white. Okay, if you have to have, a separation between two fields of color, that separation can be white, and then the two fields of color at this stage can be represented in black. But you have that white space between them, which keeps everything crisp and clean and easy to use. Plus, there are occasions when a logo does need to be used in monochrome or in black and white. They may not have room for grayscale or color in every application that they want to use. For instance, if they're printing up t-shirts and they want to have like white print on a red t-shirt, for instance, your logo needs to be able to exist as, in this case, red and white. So the white areas would be where the black would normally be, and where the white normally would be would actually be the red t-shirt. Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, now once you have a good solid black and white logo that looks good from every direction and every angle, I mean, look at it upside down, from the side, everything, then you can start adding color. All right, so always design in black and white first, please. All right, when you're looking at font selections, you need to decide based on what this client wants and who their audience is going to be. What type of font do I want? Do I want something kind of elegant and timeless? Do I want something more traditional? Do I want something modern? Do I want something high-tech looking? You need to consider the connotation of your font selection and what does it mean when you do that. I always recommend avoiding novelty fonts. They're too hard to read, they're too cute, and they just get dated so quickly. So avoid your novelty fonts. And I generally recommend avoiding script fonts. Some of them are rather beautiful, but most of them are rather difficult to read. Occasionally, if you're working like on a kids-oriented type logo, such as one of the ones on our list here, it might be appropriate to go with something a little bit cute or a little bit more hand-drawn looking, but you need to make sure that it still has crisp, clean edges and it's really going to hold up when you scale it all the way down or when you scale it all the way up. So just think carefully about that. All right, now let me move on. All right, client design brief number 2 is Upper Crust Bakery. Okay, so now the Upper Crust Bakery is moved to a new location, needs a new logo. It's well known for bakery items such as breads and muffins, as well as desserts. Okay, the Upper Crust bakes its items using local products. This is another key term here. Okay, to provide the freshest, best tasting bakery goods. Okay, so now when you walk into the Upper Crust, the smell of fresh baked breads, muffins, and pastries fill the air. We have pride in our products, passed down. This is another one that I should actually yellow highlight. Passed down our recipes through generations from our home country of France. When you're at Upper Crust, we want you to feel the essence of Paris. Okay, so you got a few different key terms here that are important. Okay, they want to say they are selling bakery items. They're not selling cupcakes, they're not selling birthday cakes necessarily. Those might be included in what they're doing, but they're doing pastries and breads, and they have an elegance to their products. Okay, we're talking about recipes that are passed down through generations from France. Okay, so these types of words and these types of key terms are telling me that they are traditional, timeless, and elegant. This is the type of logo they're looking for. Now, they may have a sense of humor. A couple of you guys had some really cute ideas for this logo using the Eiffel Tower, using a mustache, using a chef's hat. Those might potentially work if you can do it in an elegant way. And there are ways to do that. You're going to want to research different ways of illustrating things to make them appear more cute versus more sophisticated. So think carefully. All right. Fresh, anytime I see the word fresh, I think there's a possibility for the color green because green is our fresh color. Now, green may not be the best choice in a bakery, so, do kind of understand. But there's another way of indicating fresh, which isn't necessarily green. Perhaps you have a leaf in there. If you can do a leaf somehow that doesn't look weird with what you're doing, that might be a possibility to indicate that fresh idea. Okay, when we start talking about passing down recipes and, passing down recipes is a traditional, timeless approach. Think about old-fashioned labels, those scalloped edges and those circular logos. Those are all types of things that you can kind of think of and be inspired by. Okay, home country of France. A couple of you guys did Eiffel Towers or Fleur-de-Lis. Those are both good options. They may not be the single illustrative component in your logo, but they could certainly be a part of it. You have to kind of work with it. I don't know if just a fleur-de-lis would work. because there really is nothing bread-ish about that, or bakery-ish about that. The Eiffel Tower you could possibly work with as long as the Eiffel Tower works well with the terms upper crust and bakery. So think carefully about that too. A couple of you guys are trying to use different like croissants or breads, muffins, things like that. Those can work, but again, this company is not looking for cute. Okay, they're looking for a more sophisticated approach. This is what they're asking for. They are more traditional, they are more sophisticated than cute. So just think carefully about when you're rendering your image of a pastry, like a croissant, for instance. How can you make it look more elegant? Maybe you do almost like an origami type look to it. I remember one of y'all did that. It looked quite nice. I think that's a good possibility. And again, just as I said with the logo up here about having, when you're designing in black and white, you want to have that white area between your fields of what could be color, but in your monochrome logo it's just black. So again, if you're doing a pastry such as a croissant, if you use almost like an origami type look and you have that color, those fields of color separated by white, I think it could look quite nice and quite elegant. So that's an option for you. Excuse me. All right, these issues I think I've already discussed. Okay, so again, just font selection here. You have traditional, you have elegant. So maybe something, Times New Roman is like the most boring serif font out there. I would avoid that, but that does have the little feet on it, so it gives you an idea of what a serif font could be. Okay, non-serif font that you might like, Optima is quite nice. Verdana is also another good font you could look at. There's a lot out there, so have a look around and see what you can find. Even some of the Art Deco fonts you might enjoy, but you got to make sure it doesn't scream Art Deco too loud, because again, you're starting to get too novelty-ish and it's taking away from that timeless quality. Okay, but have a look and see what you can find. A couple of really good places to find fonts. DaFont, which is dafont.com, and Font Squirrel, as in, squirrel woodland creature, fontsquirrel.com. Those are two great places to find fonts. I highly recommend that you never download a font that isn't 100% free for commercial use. Once you start getting fonts in there cluttering up your system that can only be used for personal use, it gets really hard to keep track of what is what. And there are literally thousands of fonts to choose from that are legal for commercial use. So use one of those and just make your life a little bit easier. All right. Okay. Now, client number 3 is Little Guppy's Scuba School. Okay, so now this one is pretty easy. It's a very different look from the previous two. You've already got this kind of colloquial spelling of little. So Lil Guppy Scuba School. It's appealing to children and their guardians. Okay, so automatically you already know that you can go a little bit more cute on this logo, or whimsical is another term that's common. Cute and whimsical will work on this one. So if that's something you enjoy doing, this will probably be a pretty good logo for you. You also want to make sure that you emphasize swim and safety and adventure. These are all key terms that look pretty glaringly important to me. Okay, when you start reading into this, these are the types of things that you're seeing. So you want, a lot of you guys were using little fish, and I think that's a good idea. If you want to go a little more contemporary, you could just do like bubbles only and make it really simple. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this. This logo, anything you do for this logo, is potentially going to have more detail in it because of the cute or the whimsical quality. And it's okay as long as you keep it nice and crisp and clean. Okay, so you don't want to have extra information in that logo that you don't need. So really get it down to what you absolutely must have. And go ahead and go out there, regardless of what client you're working with, but go out on the internet and find similar logos to the company that you're working with. If you're doing the bakery logo, find other bakery logos. Have a look at them. What works? What doesn't work? How is one cute, maybe selling cupcakes and lots of pink and fluffy, and one is much more sophisticated? So how do they connote those types of feelings about the logos using their colors, using their design motifs, using their illustration techniques, and using their typefaces or their fonts? Okay, so all those kind of blend together to create a logo that is appropriate for that particular client. All right, these things are the same for every single client. It's not going to change. Okay, on client number 4, Paws and Claws Holistic Animal Clinic. Okay, so there's a couple key terms in here as well. Holistic, meaning natural care. They're doing pet massage and acupuncture. Okay, they are creating an atmosphere where the pets are families. They're doing natural, alternative type medical care. Okay, and down here, the demographic is upper middle class who go the extra mile for their pets. Okay, so this is a group of people that have disposable income to spend on their pets. They love their pets as family, and they want to treat them in a natural and potentially alternative way from traditional medical care for animals. Okay, so these are all very important key terms. So I already said once, natural automatically brings up the idea of green. Okay, you want a green leaf in here, probably a very good idea. Okay, not necessarily the only one, but it's one good potential for you. Okay, what other natural things can you think of? There's other things that we kind of associate with naturalness. Okay, think about, if you guys have ever heard the term crunchy granola applied to men and women, especially women in the suburbs that kind of have this high health consciousness. They're often called crunchy granola folks. It's not derogatory in my mind. I kind of consider myself a little crunchy granola. It's just people who have this idea in their mind about these natural products are better for us, and whether you believe that or not, this is what the demographic is for this particular client, and it's one that you want to have reflected in the logo. Okay, so think about natural remedies. Think about, again, you want a more sophisticated look to this. When you start getting cute and whimsical, you're either speaking to an economical class or you're speaking to kids, one of the two. So if you get cute, that's where you're headed. If you go for a little more sophisticated, a little more elegant and timeless look to it, you have a definitely upper middle class or higher income bracket is who you are appealing to. So you just want to kind of think about those things. And colors, again, on this is going to be important. I would recommend putting green in this logo somewhere, just because they are emphasizing this holistic, natural kind of approach. All right, and another thing with the animal clinic, I think the first thing almost any of us are going to think about when we think about an animal clinic, especially with a name like Paws and Claws, is that we automatically think about footprints, or paw prints in this case. Very natural to go there, absolutely. That's where we're all going to go. But I think those are pretty well used in the vet logo kind of genre. So have a look out there at other vet logos. Most of them are going to have paw prints or the silhouettes of animals, and that's not necessarily a terrible way to go. But how can you make your paw print more natural? Maybe you can blend a paw print with a leaf somehow. I mean, think about different ways you can do that. And you're going to want to work on these things on paper. You really don't want to try and do this in AI unless you're already experienced in AI. Okay, it's a complex program. I know that. I absolutely understand that. So please work on paper first. And if you need some help getting it together to be a logo in AI, let me know and I can help you guys. Okay. All right. Okay. Couple little things. I already talked a little bit about a lot of this. The connotation of typefaces. So yeah, have a look at the typefaces. Which ones scream elegant? Which ones scream trendy? Which ones are more traditional versus more modern? So have a look at these and really think about what they mean. A lot of connotation has to do with design history as well. So if you want to have a look at some different points in design history. There is a book out there called Meg's History of Design, which is a fantastic art history book about graphic design. And it has some wonderful ideas and images in there and really an inspirational text. It's a hefty text, but you might be able to find it at the library or something like that. Okay, avoid novelty typefaces. They almost never work. The occasional script or handwritten font can work, but you got to be really, really careful that if you print this out at a half inch across and you hold it at arm's length, can you instantly read that typeface? So think about that. Print it out so that your logo is only a half inch across, maybe 3/4 of an inch. and hold it at arm's length like you would a business card. Can you still read that quickly and easily? If you can't read it, don't use it. All right. Sans serif and serif typefaces. Okay. Serif typefaces have the little feet. Okay. There. We'll just do this real quick. All right. Little feet on your font. All right. This one does not have little feet. It is a sans serif font. Okay. And there's dozens in here. Here's a nice little cute font. Could possibly be useful for something like the Little Guppy Scuba School because it is fairly simple, but be very, very careful about using these types of fonts. Okay, Palatino, simple, elegant serif font. Has the little feet at the bottom of the letters. Okay, this is a serif font. It is definitely more traditional. Okay, it's a classic, elegant, timeless font. Okay, some other good ones. Let's go down to Verdana. This is a nice font as well. Okay, it's a sans serif. It's an elegant, simple font. Now, it's not very exciting or interesting, so, keep that in mind. Sometimes you don't want exciting and interesting. You want timeless. Other times you do want a little more style to it. I would say on the Upper Crust Bakery, if you choose to go sans serif, that is one way to go. Something like Optima might work well. Where do you go? There you are. Whoops. Come back here. Okay. So Optima is technically a serif font, but it's a very, very gentle, simple serif font. It's kind of halfway between that modern and classic look. Optima is a very common font for when you're trying to get that mid-grade. What are some others in here? Minion Pro is a good one. It's a serif font again, but it's classic. It's beautiful. Arial, you guys are all familiar with Arial. It is certainly an option. It is not the most interesting option, but it is an option. It's a sans serif font. You could try something like Arm Wrestler Bold, which has a little more style to it, but it still has an elegant look. If you're trying to denote speed, obviously something like this is an option, but please don't use this one. It's a little too novelty-ish. Okay, but when you have that italic slant, it emphasizes the idea of speed or movement. So for the sports logo, you might choose to use a font that has a slant to it. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily choose that one. Let's see, Futura might be a good one. Where'd my Futura go? There you are. Okay, now the issue with Futura, let's go all caps. And let's go italic. Thank you. Okay, now it's not quite heavy enough, so I'm going to add a weight to it. Okay, and you start getting into a little bit of kind of issues with your letters here when you start adding a stroke. So you just got to be aware of these things. Okay, but look carefully. Okay, here's one that kind of has a high-tech kind of look to it. All right, again, all caps might be a good option there. Headline is a potential good one for certain applications, but you see how close together these are? You're going to want to come and spread that out. Okay, use your kerning. Give yourself some space. Sometimes you have to hand kern these letters too. All right, so keep some of these things in mind when you're working with your fonts. All right, I don't want to spend too much time doing all this, but you start getting some ideas. Okay, again, script fonts can be beautiful, but they can also be incredibly difficult to read. So please be careful when you're using a font like that. All right, when you are using typefaces, you want no more than 1 to 2 on a logo. I would say 1 for the name of the company, and maybe 2 for a tagline if they choose to use a tagline, or like for Upper Crust Bakery, for instance, perhaps Upper Crust is in one font and Bakery is in another simple font. Okay, so you might have an occasion to use 2 fonts on the logo. 1 or 2, absolutely nothing more than that. On your stationary system, which you'll work on in another week or two, you might get as many as 3. But again, 2 to 3 really is about it. And that's 2 to 3 fonts on any design is usually sufficient, unless you're playing strictly with typography, in which case you're playing with lots of different fonts and sizes and things like that. And there's rules about that as well, but we're not going to get into that quite yet. But 2 to 3 on your stationary system, 1 to 2 on your logo. Okay? Limit your colors on the logo. Always start in black and white. When you go to your final color version of your logo, I could see you having maybe 3 colors, maybe 4 colors, but you really are pushing it with 4 colors. 2 to 3 colors on a logo is generally appropriate, and it will look good, it will hold up, it will be timeless and elegant, and that's really what a company wants. Okay? Research. Designers do a ton of research. Research other companies and the logos that they're using. Which ones are working well? Which ones are not working well? Which companies' logos are sticking in your head right now as you think about this? Okay, there's some logos that pop up over and over and over again in our heads, and that's just because we've been exposed to them so often. All right, also look at different illustration techniques. I already put all those different versions of the tiger in an announcement, so please have a look at that again if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But there are different illustration methods or techniques which work better for logos. Okay, some logos just, well, no, I'm not even going to say that. It's going to confuse the issue. You need to go nice and simple on this particular logo. Okay, at another point in your career when you have more experience with AI and design, there might be other illustration techniques that might work for a logo. But right now, I really want you guys to think simple, elegant, timeless, unique, and memorable. You must be unique and memorable. Otherwise, you're not going to be doing what you need to do for this client. All right, you're going to be working on stationary systems very soon. Stationary systems can include a great deal of things, but you guys are going to be working on a business card, a business size envelope, and an 8.5 by 11 sheet of basically letterhead. Okay, those are the 3 items that you'll be putting together in your stationary system. Okay, and again, you need to research different stationary system layouts and designs. Okay, you can all do the upper left corner, blah, blah, blah for your logo. That is the most dull and boring type of stationary system there is out there. It is not a bad one necessarily, but it's not terribly interesting. So please take some time to research different stationary system layouts and designs. There are tons of them out there. You just need to go look. Okay, look up unique, interesting, inspiring stationary systems. Okay, this is all about brand identity. Look up different inspiring brand identity. You may not use all the different pieces in there, but it certainly is going to be giving you some great ideas and great places to go. All right, so research. Designers do a ton of research. It's great fun. All right, that's all I'm going to do today. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.